you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
And all the time.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. Packers, Patriots, Brady, Rodgers. It was supposed to be an epic showdown. They really hyped this thing up because these two teams, obviously, in different conferences, AFC, NFC, don't play each other very often. And throughout the course of their careers, whether it be injury or whatever the case may be, these two quarterbacks have only faced off against each other twice in their career, this being the second time in their Hall of Fame careers. But, I hate the whole quarterback showdown thing because it's really overrated and overhyped. They used to do it with Brady and Manning all the time, and they do it with Roethlisberger and Brady. Quarterbacks don't play against each other. They play against opposing defenses, and I get it. Quarterbacks have the most impact on the outcome of a game, but miss me with all the Brady-Rodgers talk for tonight. But that was the lead up to the game, and we all liked seeing Brady and Rodgers perform on the football field. I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan myself. You guys know that if you've watched me for any amount of time. And I just feel sick for Aaron Rodgers. I really do. The reason this man, because I was sitting watching the game with my son, and I told my son, who has absolutely no idea what the hell I'm talking about. He's literally a month old, but I've got him sitting down watching the game with me, and I'm like, Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback of my generation. And he's looking at me like, oh, okay, that's cool. How many rings does he have? And I'm like, son, that doesn't matter right now. Listen to what I'm saying. Aaron Rodgers has the best combination of athleticism, arm strength, accuracy, mobility, able to throw on the move from any angle, accuracy on the move. All of those things all rolled into one. The tightest spiral you will ever see in your life comes out of the hand of Aaron Rodgers. Velocity on the football, everything. It's all Aaron Rodgers. And he looked up at me and he said, okay, cool. They're still saying that Brady's the GOAT. And I'm like, yeah, he's got like 10 Super Bowl rings. That's why. And Brady's really good. Don't get me wrong. But Aaron Rodgers is his team right now 3-4-1 on the season. You could argue that 3 of those games very winnable, and had his players on his team not let him down, they may have won those games. The outcomes of those games may have been different. You go all the way back to week, I think it was 3 versus the Redskins at FedEx Field. You had multiple drops by Randall Cobb, including a huge 4th down drop in that game. You got a big drop down the sidelines by their tight end, not Jimmy Graham, but rather Lance Kendricks. That would have been a huge play in that game. Just too many mistakes by the Packers in that game for them to come out victorious. They catch a couple of those passes that they drop. Kendricks catches that ball down the sidelines. They may win that football game at Washington. You look at last week's game, what a heartbreaker that was. Ty Montgomery got his ass traded behind fumbling the goddamn football. First, the decision to even come out with it was head-scratching enough, but then to compound matters and make them worse by fumbling, he had to get his ass out of town. They're going to win that game. There's no probably about it. Aaron Rodgers is taking the Packers down the field, and they're beating the Los Angeles Rams last week 30-29. That's going to happen. That was going to happen, all right? I would bet any amount of money that would have happened at the end of that game. You saw today the Rams can't stop anybody on defense. Now, I've said this for a month now, going back to the Seattle game. The Rams can't stop anybody of note on offense, right? They can't stop anybody on defense, I should say. Sorry. And so I knew Rodgers was going to take them down the field. I expected them to win that game. But as fate would have it, Ty Montgomery fumbles, and the rest is history. They lose that football game 28-26. Then you fast forward to this week. They are in control of the game, a game that seemingly felt like New England was going to win anyway. But hell, into the third quarter, they're on the move. Valdez-Scantling just catches a deep ball. They're in business down the field, deep in Patriots territory. And what does Aaron Jones do on the very first snap of the fourth quarter? Coughs the goddamn football up. And 3 or 4 plays later, the Patriots are in the end zone. And 5 plays after that, they're in the end zone again. It seems like in, what do you know, it's 31-17 in a game that the Packers were on the move with a chance to take the lead. And it felt like one of those games that if they would have took the lead 24-17, maybe Brady goes down the field and they score a touchdown and tie this game up. But Rodgers was going to have the football back, and I felt like they would have had a chance to win this game. Instead, Aaron Jones coughs it up. They score a touchdown to the Patriots. The ensuing possession, the Packers can't get anything going. They put the ball back to the Patriots, and Brady scores in all of, 30, 40 seconds maybe on the pass to Flash Gordon. And just like that, it's 31-17, and just like that, the game was over. Second consecutive week, one of Aaron Rodgers' teammates lets him down. The Packers could easily be 6-1-1 right now. The Packers could easily be, 5-2-1. Instead, they're 3-4-1. And it's unfortunate because Rodgers deserves better. He truly does. But when your teammates don't do what they're supposed to do, Aaron Rodgers is only one man. And that's why we talk about the quarterback position so much, but it's still a dependent position. Every position on the football field, in some capacity, is dependent upon another position. No position more so than the quarterback position. If receivers don't run correct routes, quarterback is affected. If the running back doesn't pick up a guy in protection, quarterback's affected. If the offensive line in front of that quarterback doesn't block, quarterback affected. So the quarterback has the football the most. They're going to get a lot of the praise for when things go well. They're going to get a lot of the blame when things don't. But it's such a dependent position. And you saw it again tonight. Aaron Rodgers falling short, 31-17, as Brady and company get it done. And I fully expected that to happen. I never thought the Packers were going to win this game. And it's unfortunate because Packers have had a tough schedule this year. And they haven't made enough plays to win the games that they've been in close and down the stretch. They just haven't made enough plays this season. And just to think, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't pull a cat out of his hat in 2 games this season versus Chicago in the first game and against San Francisco about a month ago, this team could easily be 1-6-1. I mean, it's crazy. That's the finite line that is the National Football League, is that the ball bounces this way, and you could easily be 1-6-1. It bounces in a totally different direction. You could easily be 6-1-1, or you could just be the Green Bay Packers and be 3-4-1. And that's where they are. It's kind of like things are balancing out. They won 2 games that they had no business winning against Chicago and San Francisco, and they've lost some games that they had chances in down the stretch. And they haven't been able to get it done in this game last week, and you could argue the Redskins game in week 3. So that's just the way the league goes. But back to Brady and the Patriots, 31-17 victory. This is why I told you can't allow Tom Brady to have nice things. I told you this back about a month and a half ago when they played the Indianapolis Colts on a Thursday night when Gordon first got there. And I said, remember Gordon caught his Brady's 500th touchdown pass that night. And I said, this is why you're not allowed to let Tom Brady have nice things. He can't have things like this because once he gets in sync with that item, it's trouble for the rest of the league. You saw what that combination of Brady to Flash can be. 5 catches, $130, and a touch to put this game out of reach. He was outstanding all night, was Flash, and they're going to be a problem in the AFC. It really feels right now like it's going to be Kansas City, New England again, but I'm buying the Chargers now. I've been selling them all year long, and I said, if you go into Seattle, you got my respect. I haven't watched the game, but I know Russell Wilson threw a pick 6. Can't wait to watch and see what exactly happened. But the Chargers are going to win their next 3 games. If I'm not mistaken, they've got the Broncos, they've got the Cardinals, and they've got the Raiders. All right, now maybe not in that order, but they've got those 3 teams up next. They're going to win their next 3 games. They're going to get to 9-2, and so the Chargers are making the playoffs this year. The Ravens, however, are not. So I figured it out. The Chargers are legit, and they're another team that you have to pay attention to. But it feels like Patriots. It feels like Chiefs. They feel like they're on a collision course for the AFC Championship game. It feels like that game that we watched a couple of weeks ago on Sunday night going to be the determining factor as to whether New England or Kansas City ends up with home field advantage, because I think the Rams are going to beat the Chiefs on a Monday night a couple of weeks from now, even though the Rams can't stop anybody on offense or on defense, I think they're going to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes, and I think they're going to make him make a mistake or two in that football game, and that's going to be the difference, and they're going to win a shootout on a Monday night in Mexico City. So I think they're going to end up with 2 losses. I don't know if anybody else is beating the Patriots this year. I know they got a game against the Dolphins late in the year that they usually struggle with over in Miami. That's one to circle the calendar and watch out for. They've got a game against Pittsburgh later on in the season. Those are the only 2 games remaining on the schedule that I think they've got a chance to lose. Meanwhile, if you look at Kansas City, they may slip up in the division. Highly unlikely, but I don't see them losing to anybody else but the Rams. But if they do lose that game, that'll be 2 losses, one of which will be to this Patriots team. They both end up 14-2. Let's say both of them end up 14-3, whatever the case may be. I think that game's going to end up in Foxborough, and if it does, I see the Patriots going to the Super Bowl again. I know that's far down the horizon, but let's face it, the Patriots are now 7-2. Is it 7-2 or 6-2? One or the other. Either way, they're back like cook crack. Brady's got weaponry. Sony Michel at some point, PlayStation, he's going to come back, and he's going to give them a huge shot in the arm in the run game. All the while, they're getting reps for Cordero Patterson, which means he's going to be much better off at the running back position when they get Sony Michel back. You see how this cycle goes for the Patriots? I told you, they're the best at camouflaging in this league. Shit goes wrong for them, and they just plug in a guy from a different position into that position, and they just keep the party going. They have injuries on the offensive line. Okay, don't worry. We'll shuffle it around. We'll figure out the best 5, and we'll make it work. Oh, we got an injury at the running back position. Oh, we got another one? All right, receiver, come play running back. Just like they did back in the day with Troy Brown. Oh, we got injuries at cornerback? Troy, go play cornerback. That's what the Patriots do. They're the best in the league at camouflaging and fixing up different holes on their roster. They patch them up the best on the fly. That's part of the reason why they win year in and year out, because they make the adjustments that other teams fail to make on a week-in, week-out basis, and you've seen it again tonight. Cordero Patterson, on a drive where they were down in this game 17-10, he was the difference on that drive. 5 carries, about 55 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, he was outstanding on that drive, and that's what this Patriots football team does. Somebody steps up in the biggest spots for them. Somebody always steps up, and you never know who it's going to be. That's the thing that makes the Patriots so tough to stop, is that you just don't know if it's going to be Chris Hogan tonight. Did Chris Hogan even have a catch tonight? I don't even know if he had a target tonight. But 2 weeks ago, Chris Hogan was digging in the ass of the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, that's why you just don't know with this team. One night it's Edelman, another night it's Hogan, another night it's Flash, another night it's Gronk. He didn't even play tonight. So what? He doesn't play tonight? Don't worry about it. Somebody else will step up. All right? One night it's James White. The next week it's Sony Michel. Next week it's Cordero Patterson. Every week it's a different guy, but somebody's going to get in your ass. And it usually is spearheaded by number 12 and Tom Terrific. He did it again. Another night where he doesn't throw a pick. He doesn't make any costly mistakes. Takes his team down the field. Makes the plays when necessary. We don't give this Patriots defense enough credit. They're bend but don't break. They'll give up yardage, and I've said this a million times. This goes back to the Matt Patricia days. They'll give up yards, okay? They'll let you go 20-20, but they shut the faucet off generally when you get to the red zone. And that turnover tonight, that fumble forced by that Patriots defense was the game-changing play, and it was the difference in this game. Aaron Jones coughs it up to start the fourth quarter. They run a trick play, and don't they have the most timely trick plays? They go double pass to Edelman, who then throws it in. Look at the discipline of their offensive linemen. Like 8 dudes just standing at the line of scrimmage, patiently like second graders at the water fountain waiting for their chance to drink. They're just standing there. Can't go down the field. Don't want to be a legal man downfield. We'll just all stand here. And the Packers defenders are just like, wait, I wonder what's going on. It's like the Twilight Zone. They're just standing there, looking around. Bruh, go do something. Don't just stand there. Do something. And then Edelman throws it all the way back across the field to James White, who catches it, and he's got a convoy waiting for him. It's almost like he was the president, and there was a brigade right there just ready to guide him down the football field. It was amazing to watch that play unfold. Yikes. And so touchdown, a couple plays later, and then boom. Game just busts wide open after the Packers' young guys bite on Brady pump faking a wide receiver screen or a hitch. They bite up. Flash Gordon down the field, wide ass open, breaks a tackle, off to the races. and now it's 31-17, and this game's over. So got to give credit to this Patriots defense for forcing that turnover that changed this game. And then after forcing that turnover, then going out and getting what you call a shutdown stop. You get a score, all right? Not enough teams do this in this league. You get a score, you grasp and seize momentum of the game. I need a shutdown stop. In baseball, they call it a shutdown inning. After your team scores some runs, now that next inning, you need to go down. I need a shutdown inning. I need you to go out there and shut down the other team, stop them from scoring, and allow that momentum to be retained by the team that scored the runs. Same thing on offense or on defense in football for me. I look at it as a shutdown drive. Your team goes out, and that's what the Redskins failed to do today. Every time they would scratch and claw their way back into the game versus Atlanta, they needed to get a shutdown drive, and they'd let the Falcons go right down the field, score a damn touchdown, and that just kills all the momentum. And give the Patriots defense credit. They got the turnover. The Patriots offense made it count. The Packers could have easily got back on the field and tied the game up at 24. But no, the Patriots defense got on the field. They got after Rodgers' ass. They forced him to punt the football, and boom. They struck just like that. Gordon in the end zone. Now they're up 14. And then they slammed the door shut on that final possession, 4th and 4, getting to Rodgers and forcing a turnover on downs to put this one to bed. So give that Patriots defense some love. They got it done tonight. I've always been a huge fan of Trey Flowers, even back to his Arkansas days. If you go back and watch my draft wrap-up of him, my Patriots draft breakdown of him, I talked about how technically sound he was, and I said, this guy's fundamentally sound. I really like him. I didn't know how good of an NFL player because he lacked explosion. That was the thing that troubled me, and I didn't know if he could win. I said, but he's such a good football. He's just a football player, and it's just some guys you look at and you say, man, he knows how to play the game of football. He knows how to win. He knows how to get into the other team's backfield and make things happen. And you're seeing that with Trey Flowers. Looks like he's lost a little bit of weight from his Arkansas days, and he's in better shape, and that makes him a little bit more dynamic. He knows how to use his hands, and you're seeing him flourish in this Patriots defense. And he was outstanding along with some of those other defenders up front for the Patriots, and they got it done in this football game. And so, man, big win for them. They moved to what? Is it 6-2 now on the season? I believe it's 6-2. I think they've had their bye week, if not 7-2. But for the Packers, this is a bitter pill to swallow. But you continuously are in games, and you don't find a way to win. 6-2 for New England, so they've had their bye week already. And you just don't find a way to win. And these are the types of games you look back on later on in the season. If you don't make it to the is it really 3-3-1 for Green Bay? Is it not 3-4-1 now? I feel like it's 3-4-1. Let's change that. And is it not 7? It's 7-2. I didn't think New England had their bye week. So let me get in there and change that, because I knew I felt like I was tripping, and I was tripping. So let's get in here and I know I said 3-4-1, and Patriots are 7-2. Let's go ahead and update that. So yeah. Let's get to your comments as the New England Patriots run their record to 7-2 with the 31-17 victory. Smith says, MV, yes, Geronimo better watch out. Look, there's so many weapons in Green Bay, and this is what they do. I talk about the Packers every year. You know how some teams draft a quarterback every 3 or 4 years, just to, like New England, for instance, even if it's in the 7th round like they did this year with the LSU quarterback, Danny Epling. You just draft a guy, see what you get out of him, and you just make sure you always keep that cycle going. Packers do it with the receiver position every single year. Every single year, they draft 2 or 3 more receivers, and they just cycle those guys in and out, in and out, in and out. And they just throw them at the dartboard, and they see which ones stick. And I think they may have hit it big this year with Valdez, Scantling, and I think when it's all said and done, Equinemius St. Brown is going to be a good one for you as well. I was never a real big fan of Jamon Brown from Missouri, but I think you're going to hit it big with at least 2 of these guys. Geronimo Allison is still a guy. I know Packers fans, some of them want to run this guy out of there. I don't understand why. He's been really effective for you. But he's dealing with a couple of injuries right now, hamstring and the likes. But there's so many weapons out there in Green Bay You got Cobb. You got, of course, Devontae Adams. You got Geronimo, Allison. You got Valdez Scantling. You got, as I just said, Equinemius St. Brown. There's just so many guys out there, man. It's ridiculous. I got Munson says, I don't care so much about the one-on-one tonight. Brady Rodgers. Tonight was all about the Pats. Do 9 out of 10 times. Execute. Don't let Gordon get on a wavelength with Brady. And that's what I basically said. I started the show by saying I could care less about the one-on-one thing. You know, they like to hype it up. And that's, you know what they're doing that for. They're doing that for the hype machine. They're doing that to get people engaged in this game. That's the talking point. But miss me with that because quarterbacks don't play against one another. My thing is, and just like he said, the Patriots, they win these games. You know, they showed the stat when 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks face off against each other, and Brady was 19-11, now 20-11. The reason why he's won that many games against good teams, because that's what it means. When you get a Hall of Fame quarterback, it just means he plays on a really good team. That's what that means. Quarterbacks don't win Super Bowls by themselves. You see all these Hall of Fame-esque quarterbacks, and I think you could add the list that they showed up there with Roethlisberger, Breeze, Brady, Rodgers. I think you could go, and Manning. I think you could add Phillip Rivers to that mix. I think when it's all said and done, Phillip Rivers will probably be in the Hall of Fame. And the reason Phillip Rivers hasn't won a Super Bowl hasn't been on good enough teams. If you could blame the field goal kicker, you blame whatever you want. Hasn't been on good enough teams. You know, Aaron Rodgers only won a Super Bowl. Why? Hasn't been on good enough teams. Drew Brees. It isn't because these quarterbacks aren't good enough. Haven't been on good enough teams. And so Brady always on good enough teams. And unlike basketball, where you take LeBron James off the Cavaliers, and what are they, 1-8, 1-9 this year? They stink. You take Brady off of this Patriots team, yeah, they're not going to be good. But we've taken Brady off of the Patriots, and they still won 11 games before. So even though Brady is good for, you know, an extra 2 or 3 wins, and what Brady does is he takes you over the hump. He wins you playoff games, wins you a Super Bowl. But you got to have a team. And that's what we see with the Patriots. When we watch these primetime games, like we did 2 weeks ago with them against the Kansas City Chiefs, and they win that game, it's about them being good in the most crucial spots. It's about them out-executing the opponent. It's about them out-strategizing and out-adjusting the other team. That's what the Patriots do week in and week out. That's why the Patriots win every single year. JP says, I don't think we're going to get that Brady versus Rodgers Super Bowl. I would have loved to have seen it, but I think we might get Brady's versus Breeze in the Super Bowl instead. That is a distinct possibility. That would be one hell of a show. Now, it would be similar to the Super Bowl we saw last year. A lot of offense, not a lot of defense. That would be a lot of fun to watch, but we got a long way to go before we can start talking about that kind of Super Bowl. Ed says, Patriots got a better team than the Packers. I think we saw that tonight, even though the Packers were in this game, and if not for an Aaron Jones fumble, who knows how this game goes, who knows what the outcome would be, but, you know, that's what happens when you're not as good. You make those mistakes, and the other team usually capitalizes off the mistake that you make. Captain Spartan says, are the Packers even going to make the playoffs this year? I'd still say they're a contender to make the playoffs. Right now, no. No, I think they've lost too many games that were winnable. And how many times have they come close to losing to teams they had no business losing to? I mean, we didn't know the Bears were going to be good, that good. And I still am really questionable about the Bears. They haven't played a lot of good teams. And it benefits the NFC North to play the AFC East. I mean, that's a really bad division. The Dolphins aren't a good team to me, even though they keep winning because they play bad football teams. The Dolphins aren't good. The Bills aren't good, and the Jets aren't good. So if you're playing in the NFC North, you've got some winnable football games. You just got to take care of business. And so that's why I won't count the Packers out yet, because the Packers, unlike the Bears and unlike the Vikings and the Lions in that division, they haven't been able to get fat off of bad teams yet. They haven't played the Jets yet, have the Green Bay Packers. They haven't played they already beat the Bills, so I take that back. But they haven't played the Dolphins yet. They're going to get these bad teams. They're going to get a chance to fatten themselves up like everybody else has in that division off of bad football teams. They're going to get their chance. And then if the Packers, and this is where the Packers aren't dead yet, and this is where they can come back, that division is wide open because they've already beaten Chicago once. They tied with Minnesota. They can beat Minnesota. We've seen that already, even though they got to go to Minnesota. And they can sweep Detroit. So they can do damage in that division. And if they take care of business in the division, they've still got some winnable games against teams outside the division and outside the conference. I wouldn't quite count the Green Bay Packers out just yet. Not with Aaron Rodgers over there on that sideline. Reese says, how many times is Aaron Rodgers' teammates going to screw him over by fumbling the goddamn football? I talked about that earlier, man. It's rough. Feel bad for him. Caesar Augustus says, do you think Brady is the GOAT given his success in the salary cap era? I appreciate that, Caesar. Yeah, I told you, the best quarterback I've ever seen with these eyes is Aaron Rodgers. But the most productive quarterback we've ever seen, and you have to give credit where credit is due, Brady is the GOAT because of how many Super Bowl rings he's won and the consistency with which he's won over the life of his career. It's unprecedented. We've never seen this before. And he's going to play until he's 43, 44 years old. We've never seen that before out of a quarterback and at the level. Okay, you want to go back and talk about George Blanda in the 60s or whatever the hell, 70s, wherever George Blanda played, and he played until his 40s, knock yourself out. George Blanda wasn't winning MVPs at 41, 42 years. George Blanda wasn't winning Super Bowl. George Blanda wasn't playing at the level that Tom Brady. Now, again, it's a different game, all right? George Blanda was getting his block knocked off. All right, dudes was clotheslining George Blanda in the pocket. Not outside of the pocket, in the pocket. You get your damn head taken off. It's a different game, which allows a guy like Brady to play until he's 43, 44, 45 years old. But in any event, I think you got to say Brady's the GOAT. I mean, Aaron Rodgers said it himself. You win that many Super Bowls, there's no denying the greatness that is Tom Brady. You just can't. Silver V says, do you think there will be a coaching change in Green Bay? There's no creativity in their play calling at all. I'm not a Mike McCarthy fan. I think Mike McCarthy has been in Green Bay a little too long. I thought the seat started to warm up that year when it might have even been last year. It might have been the year before last. I get my years mixed up sometimes. But they got off to a rough start, and it was the relaxed year. So I want to say it was not last year but the year before, where everybody was looking around and saying, is McCarthy going to get fired? And I thought, had they not made the playoffs that year, and that was the year that they had the deep run, Rodgers shreds the Cowboys in Dallas, and they get to the NFC Championship game and get destroyed by the Falcons in 16. But had they not made that run, I think he was gone that year. But I'm not a huge Mike McCarthy fan. I don't think he's a great coach at all. I think he's been winning because of Aaron Rodgers, and when Rodgers hasn't been in the lineup, we've seen this team struggle. Last year was his time to prove his worth as a coach. I wanted to see something out of Brett Hundley last year. What did we see? Trash. And I put that on Mike McCarthy's lap. I put it right in his lap. I don't think he's that good of a coach. I think he's riding the coattails of Aaron Rodgers. And I think you could do a lot better at the coaching position than Mike McCarthy, if you ask me. Reese says, Aaron Rodgers still wins at the end of the day. He's going home. Okay. He's going home to Danica Patrick. Don't hit us with the LeBron James, okay? Don't do that to us. Cody Jason says, I feel like this is the start of a rebuilding time for us being the Packers. I don't think so. There's no such thing as rebuilding when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. There isn't. It's just plain and simple. Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. You've got a chance to win every single week, no matter who the opponent is, no matter who's on your football team. And until Aaron Rodgers is no longer your quarterback, there's no such thing as a rebuilding season. John Perez says, I apologize for my rant on the Redskins loss earlier. It's all good, bro. But we need to stop BSing and get a damn dog at receiver like Michael Thomas, Antonio Brown, Adam Thielen, or Stephon Diggs. You just got to draft one. You got to draft better. Michael Thomas was the second-round pick. Antonio Brown was a fifth-round pick. Adam Thielen was undrafted. Stephon Diggs. I wanted Stephon Diggs. I wanted Stephon Diggs instead of Jamison Crowder. If you go back to my draft coverage that year, you hear me bitching and complaining about not getting Stephon Diggs and instead drafting Jamison Crowder. You got to draft better. That's what it boils down to. We haven't identified talent well at the receiver position, and this goes all the way back to the Vinny days when we spent 3 picks on skill guys in the second round with Devin Thomas and Fred Davis, and there was another bum in there at receiver, Malcolm Kelly. This goes all the way back to those days. We don't draft receiver well. We haven't, and we still don't. We got lucky with Jordan Reed And Jamison Crowder has been good for us, but he's been banged up of late the last couple of years, and he hasn't been the guy that he was early on in his career. So you just got to draft better. Bottom line. Reese says, O.J. Howard is the truth, Louie. He had 2 touchdowns today. Remember when we drafted him, you said it was straight up theft. We had no business getting him. Sure glad we did. I told you the man was a stud. You don't see that combination of size, speed, and hands. And then O.J. can also block. You just don't see that in today's college football. And watching him at Alabama, I was like, man, this guy's going to be a difference maker at the next level because of that combination of size, weight, speed, and the ability to block, but catch it. And then in that body, in that frame, think about O.J. Howard's 6'5", 250, and he runs a 4.5 40. In that frame, that's ridiculous. It really is. Reese says, Jimmy Graham sucks ass now. Man, let Patrick Chum give him the business. Look, Jimmy Graham, I told you, wasn't Jimmy Graham once he got to Seattle. He lost a step. He wasn't the same guy. That's why New Orleans traded him. But Jimmy Graham is still effective. Jimmy Graham can still box people out. Jimmy Graham can still make plays. He caught a touchdown tonight. He just can't. Athletically, he's not the same guy he was, but he's getting older. What do you expect? He's not the same guy athletically that he once was in New Orleans. But in any event, the Oracle domain says, do you think we turn around? How do you feel about the Eagles? Who is we? Are you an Eagles fan? Are you a Redskins fan? A Cowboys fan? I don't understand who is we. If you're an Eagles fan, I mean, you're 4-4. Not the greatest start to your season, and there was a lot more expectations than 4-4 at the midway point. But hell yeah, you come off the bye, you take care of Dallas at home, and then you could get on a little streak here. You got the win before the bye week versus Jacksonville. You may be able to parlay that into a 4 or 5 game winning streak, and next thing you know, you look up and we forget about the 4-4 start because you're 9-4 and you're leading the NFC East. But you just got to see what happens. I don't know who you're a fan of, but. Clark Cannon, hey, I appreciate that, man. I really do, and thank your friend for referring you to the channel as well. And Cody Jason says, I don't know, Lou. I'm really sad because I wanted Rodgers at least getting one more ring, but now it looks like he won't even get another like Brett Favre. Look, I'm just happy he got one because at one point I thought Aaron Rodgers may not win the Super Bowl. And if Rashard Mendenhall doesn't fumble the football in that Super Bowl, I don't think they win that game. Pittsburgh was firmly in control of that Super Bowl. And if Rashard Mendenhall doesn't cough it up, I don't know if he wins that one. So just be lucky that he got that one. And he doesn't have to worry about people talking about him in the same light as Dan Marino, as one of the best quarterbacks to never win a Super Bowl. I'm going to tell you right now, it's a shame, though. You know, it's never – they can never kind of – match up defense and offense in Green Bay. One year the defense is really good, the offense isn't as great. Every year Aaron Rodgers is really good and he's clicking with his receivers. The defense isn't great. And then now this year it's like the defense isn't terrible. The offense isn't great, but it's good enough. Both are good enough to win in this league on a weekly basis, but you get the mistakes. And the mistakes will hurt you every time. And that's where we are right now. JP says, we finally got a glimpse of Jerron Christian, and I thought he was okay. I'm not going to beat him up. He's a young guy, got thrusted into the game. Some of the penalties the holding penalty he had, I didn't think it was his fault. I thought Alex needed to get out of there. So you know how that is. A Buffalo pregame says, if you slap any player, get a warning. If you slap a Patriots player, get ejected. That was crazy. I mean, there was no way. And the official didn't even announce he was ejected. I thought there was no way he's supposed to be ejected out of that game. That was ridiculous. Reese says, only the Bucs could have the number 1 offensive attack in the whole league and be 3-5. You know, again, one of those situations where offense and defense don't match up. You know, your defense is trash. Your offense is explosive and dynamic. And in this league, if you turn it over, if you don't generate turnovers, and you can't get defensive stops, but your offense is explosive, you're still going to lose games in this league. Kansas City is 8-1 now, or 7-1, one of the two. Why? Because the Chiefs create turnovers, and the Chiefs have one of the best third down defenses in all of football. So they're getting off the field. Even though they give it up, they can get off the field via turnover or third down defense, and they're scoring points. And they're not turning it over themselves. So in order for you to outscore the other team, you got to make sure you don't turn it over. And unfortunately for your team, they turn it over a little bit too much, and you don't create enough turnovers on your end. Ron Cole III says, tough L for the Skins. Yep. That's exactly what we got to do. Buffalo pregame says, what are your thoughts on who may win the NFC North? I never wavered. I said all along that the Vikings are the best team in that division. I picked them to win the division before the season started. I'm a big Packers guy. I think the Packers are a dangerous team every single year, but nobody in that division impresses me. Not even the Bears. They destroyed the Bills today, but it's the Bills. They beat the Jets last week. It's the Jets. Like I said, they've played the soft part of their schedule already. They've played the entire AFC East. They should have been 3-1 against that division. Instead, they went 2-2. They lost a game against Miami. They had no business losing. And so they lost to New England already. But they destroyed the Jets. They destroyed the Bills. So they've played a soft part of their schedule. I think they went to Arizona and won already. So they got all the soft games that they may have played. Did they play San Francisco already? They've played a lot of soft teams already. They've yet to really encounter the tough part of their schedule. Where they start getting at the teams that are going to make a difference. That you look at it and you say, okay, they could lose this game, they could lose that game. They haven't gotten to that part of it. So they've gotten fat off of the soft part of their schedule, whereas Green Bay has backloaded a lot of those games. So we'll see what happens, but I think Minnesota's going to win that division. JP says, I really think Mike McCarthy is going to be the next coach to be let go this season if they continue to play like some shit. He's not going to get fired during the season, but if they don't make the playoffs this year, it might be time for him to go. It might be time for change in Green Bay. We'll see what happens. Anyway, Atlas says, don't know if it's been said yet, but the NFC South is now the undisputed best division in football, hands down. I think they're starting to run away with it. The Browns have been a disappointment for me. I thought the Browns would have won more games by now. The Ravens have fallen on hard times. The Bengals didn't play this week, but A.J. Green's injury really going to affect them, I think, moving forward, even though Tyler Boyd has stepped up in a major way. A.J. Green being out for a big chunk of time could impact them potentially even making the playoffs. And then you got the Steelers, who just always seems to rise to the top of that division as the cream of that division. So I think you're right. The NFC South has officially run away with the title of best division in football. I thought it was neck and neck. I talked about it on my podcast this past week, how the NFC South and the AFC North were the two best divisions. And I think the South is starting to take a quantum leap above everybody else. Saints won today in a shootout. Falcons won today convincingly. Panthers won in a shootout today. So those three teams are trending in the right direction. And that division as a whole, if the Buccaneers are the worst team in your division at 3-5, you could do a lot worse in this league. So, I'd say that the NFC South, best division in football. Reese says, is there any validity to the rumor that John Harbaugh is on the hot seat? Yeah, it is. They haven't made the playoffs in how many years now in a row? What is it, 3? And it's crazy because I think his first 6 years in the league, all playoff years, and they all were years where they won at least one playoff game. And Flacco was like 5-1 on the road in the first round in those years or whatever it was, some crazy number. And they were winning games and making it to the AFC Championship and divisional round every single year. And now it's like 3 straight years of no playoffs. And I think they are in a position now where they want to see results in Baltimore. And if he doesn't win this year, Ozzie says this is his last year's GM. Why not just clean house all at once? Get you a new GM, let him pick his own head coach, and you start anew. So, I think there's some validity to it. If they don't make the postseason, and they've went on a tough run here of late. I think they were 3-1 at one point after the Steelers win on that Sunday night game about 2 months ago. 2 months ago, hear me. About a month and a half ago. I think they beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and they were 3-1, and everyone was singing the praises of the Ravens, including me. And what is it now? Losers of 4 out of their last 5, and they're now 4-5 on the season. Yeah, I'd say Harbaugh's on the hot seat for sure. RG3 hashtag says Mike McCarthy is on the hot seat now. I think so. I really do. I think that they felt like in Green Bay this needed to be a year where they got back to the postseason. I know last year Rodgers not being healthy was the reason they didn't make it last year, and they generally go every single year when Rodgers is healthy. Rodgers hasn't been fully healthy, but he's played in every game this season. I think they feel like they should be winning more games than they've won thus far. But again, Long season, man. They end this season at 9-6-1, and if that's good enough to get into the postseason, McCarthy's not going anywhere. So we'll see what happens. Angry Birds of Chaos says, does Denver have the best home field advantage because of the high altitude? And I think the Broncos are the only team that has a winning record against Brady in Denver. I'm not sure about any of those things. I know Denver has a slight advantage because of the altitude, but they're just not a good enough football team, and they should have beat Houston today. I fully expected them to beat Houston today, and they lost the football game on a late field goal. That's another one of those games I'm anxious to see what happened because the Redskins play the Texans in a couple of weeks, so I want to see what happened in that football game. Let's see. Captain Spartan says, if the Chargers can get back Joey Bosa back at 100%, do you think the Chargers defense can challenge the Patriots offense? Yeah, they've always, any team that can get pressure on the quarterback, I've said this a million times, any team that can pressure the quarterback will give the Patriots trouble. That's why the Texans have been a problem for New England. They always play New England tough. Always. Why? Because they can get pressure on the quarterback. That's why Baltimore over the years has been tough for the Patriots. Why? Because Baltimore can get pressure on the quarterback. Why has Denver been a thorn in Brady's side over the years? Why? Because they can get pressure on the quarterback. Any team that can get after the quarterback gives – and really, that goes across the board. It's not limited to the Patriots. You can get pressure on the quarterback. You have a chance to win in this league on a consistent basis. JP says, curious question. Do you think Ken Wisenhunt will get another chance to be a head coach? Maybe. Maybe not. But I can tell you this much. Ken Wisenhunt isn't a good head coach. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did because in this league, we see retreads get a chance all the time. But I'm not a big Ken Wisenhunt fan. I didn't think he should have been fired in Tennessee the way that he was, but I don't think he's a great head coach anyway. Jason says, I was disappointed when we had the chance to draft Dalvin Cook and didn't. Made me pissed. It pissed you off. Dalvin, and I hope you feel better. Dalvin Cook hasn't been great in his career. Injuries have marred it. I saw him make a big play today. I thought I saw him have a nice touchdown run, but I got to watch that game. But we'll see what happens, you know. Anyway, see what time we got. We got time to answer some more questions. Captain Spartan says, even though my Steelers are tanking, we couldn't let the Ravens sweep us. I'm done talking to you about that. John Perez says, I feel bad for Rodgers just because of what he goes through every year. He's had some shit defenses, some bad run games for years, and still yet tried to get 12, 13 wins a season by himself. It's been rough on him. I feel bad for him, but that's the NFL. You know, it is what it is. JP says, where the hell is Jimmy Graham? Dude's been invisible since his New Orleans days. He's been solid. Not great, but I think they knew what they were getting when they got Jimmy Graham. Reese says, our season is done, Lou. It's sad, too, because we had such a promising start. We have a lot of talent on our roster. I really feel like we're close, and I'm not just saying that. No, you got a lot of talent, and you guys scared the hell out of me, and you could easily beat us because we can't score points, and you guys can. And that's scary. And if we don't create turnovers in the game versus you guys, you will beat us in week number 10. And I'm very nervous about that game because we can't score. And you guys put up 28 this week. And despite you having struggles on defense, we're not going to be able to take advantage of it. So it's a scary game. LT says, who will win the NFC East? I still think the Redskins are going to win the division. I don't see the Redskins' schedule being that tough. If they do what – injuries will play a part because the Redskins – we got a couple of big MRIs tomorrow that we'll find out the results of. If the Redskins' offensive line is in tatters, in shreds, that could really alter the path that the Redskins are on right now. We've been one of the best rush teams in the league. You take away Brandon Sheriff for the rest of the year and Sean Laval for the rest of the year, and that's going to impact us on the ground. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But right now I'm sticking with the Redskins. If the Redskins don't win it, then it's going to be the Eagles. John Perez says, do you think John Elway will lose his job as a team president? Nope, not at all. He's running the show up there in Denver. and doesn't take blame for anything. So, nah, I don't see that happening. Yin Yang Domain says, can the Redskins beat the Eagles? Who is next if Jay gets axed this year? Yeah, the Redskins can beat the Eagles. What have you seen from the Eagles that says the Redskins can't beat them this year? They're struggling just like we are. They can't score either. They've been struggling this season to score points just like we have. I don't know who the Redskins would hire if Jay, gets canned this year. Long season. I'm hoping that Jay doesn't get fired because if he gets fired, it means we didn't win the division and we didn't make the playoffs. Only one team is coming out of the NFC East. There won't be two. So if we don't win the division, we're not making the playoffs. And if Jay gets fired, it means we didn't make the playoffs. And as bad as I think Jay isn't the guy, I still want to win. You know how competitive I am. I still want to win. So it is what it is. Blackbird Blitz says, did the fam make it back from the game okay? His sister Lou talking trash. She's not a trash talker, but my other sister was talking enough trash for her and my other sister, which I'm like, yo, shut up. You like the Cowboys, and you weren't saying shit when we beat you a couple of weeks ago. But nonetheless, no, she doesn't talk trash. But, yeah, they made it back from the game, and she was quite stoked, as she should have been. Reese says, so what do we need, Lou? A whole new regime? Yeah, I don't know if – I actually think Jason Light's done a great job of compiling talent for your organization. He just hasn't picked a good head coach. And that may be enough to get him fired. We'll see what happens. But – I think just the coach needs to go. The collection of talent is there. Obviously, if the Jameis thing blows up in your face, maybe that's enough to get Jason Light fired. You picked the wrong quarterback. You claim you did your due diligence on him. Maybe that's enough to get him canned. But I just think that I just think you just need a new head coach, really, honestly. All right. So that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you guys for joining me here on Sunday Night Football Overtime. Patriots get the 31-17 victory over the Packers. Nice win for the Patriots. Defense stepped up late with the turnover and some crucial stops to put this game away. Meanwhile, the offense did what it needed to do late to separate themselves from the Packers. Cordero Patterson stepped in with some injuries to the running back position and was outstanding in the second half. And Flash Gordon went bananas, 5 catches, $130, and a touch to put this game away. Brady almost a 300-yard passing game and a touchdown to Gordon late to put this thing away as they move to 7-2 on the season with the 31-17 victory. Meanwhile, for the Packers, another late loss where you just say you stop turning it over and who knows what would have happened. You get the turnover by Aaron Jones and all hell kind of just breaks loose in this game. And you give up 14 unanswered points and lose this game by that mark, 31-17. You dropped to 3-4-1 on the season. And we knew it was going to be tough for the Packers outside of the bye. After the bye, we knew they were going to Los Angeles, to New England. It's going to be a tough stretch, and they didn't respond. They needed to win one of those two games. Last week was the one I thought they needed to get. I didn't think they were going to beat the Patriots in Foxborough. I just didn't see it happening. Last week was the one to get. They let that one slip through their fingers. And now they find themselves in quite a hole with the Vikings winning, with the Bears winning. They're finding themselves losing too much ground in that division. It's not too late. Still time to make up that ground, but it's getting late. Wait, it's getting late early for the Packers in this 2018-2019 season as they drop this game 31-17 and drop to 3-4-1 on the season. It's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Make sure you like the video if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. Make sure you check out the Louie T Network podcast on Stitcher, on Google Music Play, on iTunes, and, of course, the website, louietnetwork.net. I'm your man Louie T, signing off. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Monday Night Football Overtime. And also, for those of you fans of all the teams around the league, make sure you're on the lookout for lockdown coverage on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Google Music Play, and, of course, the website, louietnetwork.net. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Thanks for joining me once again.
Louie T Network.